team of the Emperor's New Groove. Please help me welcome Tracey, Miller-Zarneke.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so grateful to be with you tonight and to host an esteemed and hopefully entertaining panel of folks who are going to tell you about the film we made together, just some 25 years ago. So without further ado, let me invite to the stage director Mark Dindal, screenwriter Dave Reynolds, the voice of Kronk, Warburton. Debney. Great, thank you gentlemen for being with us tonight. And to get us started, let's go back a ways, before Kuzco was a llama, and it'll all make sense. So originally, this project was known as Kingdom of the Sun, an epic film that embraced Peruvian culture and climate that executive producer Don Hahn and director Roger Allers worked on developing after they did The Lion King together. So that team also had the amazing and yet sadly now nearly departed Randy Fulmer as the producer, and later they added Mark Dindal to co-direct. Kingdom was a story loosely based on Mark Twain's The Prince and the Pauper, with a dash of fabulous villain thrown in for good measure, all set to be an epic musical with plenty of songs by Sting. So, as happens with the development process on many animated films, the story path you start on isn't exactly what ends up being the film you see at the end of production. And that certainly happened in a boom baby sort of way here, I would say. It was probably one of the most drastic pivots in Disney animated film history, shifting from that dramatic musical epic to a zany, buddy, comedy road trip thing. Something like that. So what I'd like now is to ask Mark to talk about the art direction of the Emperor's New Groove, and we've got some good stuff to show you in that way.
So when I came on at the end of Kingdom of the Sun, and the production crew had just gone to Peru and visited Machu Picchu. I came on too late to go on that trip. But what they came back with, and you're seeing on the screen now, is just fantastic art that was inspired by the places that they visited. These are just, 1/100th of the wonderful artwork that was generated at that time. And it's really inspiring, it's very imaginative. And our production designer, art director Colin Stimpson, did these pieces. I believe he did all of them. And the thing that struck me was that he was taking pottery and sculptures and things that they had seen there and had made them much bigger, changed their purpose or function. So here you can see the idol that was in a museum that they took a picture of, and Colin and company turned that into the temple, or the main sort of temple that Kuzco lived in. And so I just thought that was so imaginative, it was so much fun, and I really encouraged him and everyone to just really embrace that notion and bring that sense of imagination into the movie.
We're going to talk about the pool of light.
Oh, and these, Colin did these color thumbnails. They're probably, I don't know, maybe an inch by an inch.
Sorry.
And, but you can see this where he used the temple setting. This is from the end of the movie, and Colin would do these to indicate the color, the contrast, just the way the shots would be lit, and the rest of the departments really followed these closely. I just think he's a beautiful. There's a whole set for the entire movie that he did, and they're just so expressive. They get across exactly his intentions and made very clear for everybody to follow.
Yeah, it would be great if we had an art book that we could show with all this great stuff.
Yes.
I mean, I might just be tainted.
Oh, that's amazing.
Just that. Mark, tell us about the character design a little bit.
So I met Joe Mosier, who's our character designer on this movie, and he was working on Kingdom of the Sun. And when we switched over, these sort of indicate, I don't know if these were done for that purpose, but I would make him these are just little scribbles that I would communicate my ideas to him every now and then. But one of the things that Randy Fulmer always talked about, and I agreed 100%, was let's hire people who are really talented, and then let's give them support, give them clear direction, and then let's just step aside and let them do their job. And that was really key to this movie. We had everybody was just so good at their jobs. It was so easy to just let them do what they did, and I think the movie really benefited from that. So these might have been, as I was working with Joe, just little scribbles to say, hey, you want to try these proportions or this kind of thing on the characters. But I think Joe really had fun just doing things he may not have had the opportunity to do in other movies before.
Yeah, I do think that yours and Randy's channeling of fun definitely carried through in the art and the joy that this film still brings to audiences today. So
Yeah.
great job there, I must say. I want to take a quick look at each of the main characters, and I'll give you a little summary, and Mark can talk a little about their design. So on the prince side, we had a prince named Manco in the first film, who became Kuzco in The Emperor's New Groove. And this character still featured the voice of David Spade, leaning even more into his comedic sense. Mark, tell us a little bit about that design of Kuzco.
Again, this was just, I guess my memory is in each one of these cases, I just said to Joe, why don't you draw something you've always wanted to, and for one reason or another, it just didn't work out, might have not been, fit the movie at the time. And these are the things that he came back with, and sometimes it seemed like overnight. So I really felt there was a lot of creativity here that was just waiting to burst out.
Yeah. Then we also had Pacha. So Pacha got quite the rework from being an easygoing young peasant who was voiced by Owen Wilson, actually. And he turned into a strong and kind father figure, really played warmly by John Goodman. So Mark, what did we learn from this character design just by looking at him?
Well, one thing I love about these characters, the design of them, if you see the four main characters, you just look at them and they're not speaking yet. You can really get a sense of their personality. I can't remember if, was John Katz that when Joe was doing these? I don't remember if he was, or the designs inspired the idea for John, but that's the way it is with animation. One thing inspires and kind of goes back and forth. But I love the way that each character has a very distinct kind of shape to them, that if you saw them silhouetted walking towards you, you would know absolutely who they were.
I remember it being when we were looking for a Pacha, we said, oh, it's a John Goodman character.
Yeah.
And so then
Luckily.
just started, luckily he answered
John's
his phone.
yeah.
Lo and behold, here's John Goodman manifested. All right. Speaking of unique characters,
Yeah! Awesome villain.
She was no longer seeking to bring back her youth and rope in the sun and things like that in the Emperor's New Groove version of the story, but she still wanted to be in power and was still voiced by the amazing Eartha Kitt, really playing into her wide range and her colorful energy. And Mark, tell us about her design.
So Eartha was cast in Kingdom of the Sun. So we did Eartha and David. And so again, I just told Joe, just let loose. You can see on the one, the hips, really, the hip bone really got curls up there. So we may have, it's a very minor sort of adjustments that we made for the film itself, but so much of this, as you can imagine, is inspired by her and her personality. I was a little bit nervous when we changed the character and went into a comedy, and so she came in, and I was going to pitch her a board to see if she would be, interested. And I probably, this is the old days when it's on paper and I'm pitching with a pointer stick, and I may have gotten 4 panels in. I was reading her dialogue strips, and she jumped up and just started performing, right there, and all I did was just point as she went down the line of the storyboards. So I very much knew that she was game for this. Felt like maybe it was a character waiting to burst out of her as much as the designs were coming from Joe. And I have to tell you, on my birthday, she came into the conference room and did the most spectacular happy birthday to me.
Aw, so cool.
Yeah.
So, to round out the star quartet, we have Kronk came in brand new to the Emperor's New Groove and was voiced by this gentleman right here, who you all know and love. But before we hear from that amazing voice, I'm just building up this here. I actually want Dave Reynolds to tell us about how this character came to be. Where did this character come from?
When we switched over, and the backstory was when they said, oh yeah. So this is Chris Williams drew these characters, and Chris Williams had a drawing of a bunch of guards that all sort of looked alike, but there was this one guy at the end, and he had the Spade character come up and say, "Hey, what's your deal?" And he just did sort of a deeper voice going, "What's my deal? I do 7,000 crunches before breakfast. I do this, I do this." And I turned around and I said to him, "Oh, I swear, it's that guy from Seinfeld. It's that guy from Seinfeld." It's guy Putty. Like, what's his name? I don't know his name, but it's Putty. It's that guy. He's the voice of this guy. Because we were looking for a sidekick for Yzma. Because just as Mark was saying, Eartha was Yzma in the parking lot walking to the stairs. She was Yzma. It was always a pleasure for us to meet her. She will tell you that. It's a pleasure. She knew who she was. So anyway, once I kind of came up with the idea of Kronk, and through Chris Williams, who drew these great sketches, I just had his voice in my head, and then we had to kind of track down who he was. No. So anyway, that was it, and it just became that very quickly. And I'll tell you a story later about how he got into the movie finally. But I saw that, I heard him. That was Kronk.
Yeah. So now let's hear Patrick. How did you find Kronk's true voice in this moment? Like, how do you manifest Kronk?
I was so inspired. I grew up just, living and loving Disney. My earliest memories were Disney. So I had an opportunity to be in Disney film. And, I got 4 pages. You're all very secretive with your...
That's all for her.
Kronk and Yzma, and I had to figure out who Kronk was, and they showed me some art, and then just decided, came up with some ideas of what Kronk might have sounded like. And it occurred to me not long ago that, Kronk could have sounded dark, which would have been curious. We're going to miss the dessert that I worked so very hard. Might have been an interesting angle to go, but decided to make him a little bit sweeter. Poison. And they seemed to respond to that, and I was very, very excited, and yes, I have to thank Dave here to my left. He's the one who came up with it. If it wasn't for Dave, but it's such to get to work with, Mark and Randy and Dave and Don and John here, this amazing, talented artists. Disney always brings the best together, so it's such a great opportunity.
We're so glad you said yes, but it's hard to believe this now, 25 years later, but there was a moment when the studio was like, do we really need this Kronk character? What is that all about? So, Dave, I think you should tell this story about this.
So we were introducing the entrance of the introduction scene of Yzma, and it's that shot where he said, this is my advisor Yzma, dinosaurs roam the earth, that line right there. Okay, so we had that and we kind of pushed in and they go, oh, this is her right-hand man, Kronk, right? And he didn't say anything, so he just didn't crap all off the stage, right? So we showed it to the executives and they said, oh, that's great, but we don't need that, the bodyguard guy, we don't need that guy. And we're going, whoa, we think he could be really funny for us. And they said, well, we were running really late. We only had a year and a half to make the whole movie from scratch. And they would have to create a whole new animation team for that character and everything. And we said, just give us a shot. And so so Tom Schumacher was great. And he says, okay, Dave, write a scene. Let's see what you've got. What can this guy do? Whatever it was. So I turned to him. At the end of the meeting, I turned to him. I go, what do you want to do? And he goes, all right, well, just write the dinner party scene. And I said, we don't have it. Yeah, just. And I said, the idea was he tries to poison him and he messes up. That was it. So I came home. This is my thing to save this guy that I don't even know. But anyway, I came home and I start typing and I think of Eartha and she throws open the curtain like Norma Desmond. It's in my opinion.
If you're old enough to.
If ask her folks, your grandparents, I guess. So, and she says, "Is everything ready for tonight?" And then I just stop for a second. I go, I think we start with soup, with salad, see how we feel. Oh my God, he's worried about the dinner, like this. And I start laughing like this. I'm typing it up. I go, oh my God. And my wife, swear to God, she's here. She came walking through, and I go, oh my God, he's worried. He's not poisoned. He's worried about the dinner. But so I wrote the whole scene, the whole dinner party scene in 15 minutes. Next day, I come in, I give it to him. We start laughing, cut like a little cut, which I'll talk to you about later. And then we gave it to Chris Williams. Chris Williams turned it around in a couple days.
Yeah, it was so fast.
And he added the little thing about dessert and coffee at the end. And we turned around, and so like 4 days after saying, we can't afford, we don't want this guy, or this character rather, we re-pitch it to the studio heads, and in the middle of it, Peter Schneider, the head of the studio, just bursts out laughing. He's the head of it. He goes, oh my God, he's worried about the dinner. Like this. And everybody laughed, and then at the end of it, Tom Schumacher just turned to me and goes, well, Dave, looks like you saved your character. I was such a huge fan of his, and I didn't even know, but I knew that character could be funny.
So Patrick, how many times since then have you been asked to bake spinach puffs or, I mean, but really what I want to ask you is, Kronk was one of your first animated roles, wasn't it? It was early in your animation career, and I mean, what's it like now? Because I think I was trying to keep up with your IMDb page. I'm scrolling and scrolling. You've voiced so many amazing characters. What does it feel like to be the voice of, this pop culture icon, but so much now? It's amazing.
Well, Kronk will always be the most special, really, truly. And so I can say that 25 years later, it was just such an amazing opportunity, and so special to be a part of that. And I love it. I love doing what I do, but yeah, there's always going to be a very special place in my heart for that. But it was right in the beginning, yeah. I did Buzz Lightyear Star Trek on the TV show because I immediately signed on to be the poor man's Buzz. Then when Emperor's New Groove came along, that was really special.
It was really fun to watch Patrick record because you'd look at a line, you'd start and you'd sort of back up, and it just felt like you were sort of just feeling it out, and then finding that rhythm, and it was. I mean, we just sat there with big smiles on our faces.
The way it was
the whole time.
The way it was set up was Mark was on the recording floor, and then Patrick was right next to him, just behind the mic, and I was behind this glass in the control room. And the first time he came in, when we were pitching to try to get him in the movie, he came in, and there was other people that the studio wanted, but we were so locked on him, and he came in, he just looked at me and he goes, hey, he's Mom. Mark turns around to me like, and he got ready to go, keep going.
Oh, when
He said hello.
Yeah.
That was it.
And I just have to add that This movie, there was no script, which is really rare today. We would just come to work. We had a beat board of drawings. Some of those, like that one of Kuzco there, and these might have been one of them. So we kind of knew what we were doing. We would just come to work every day and go, okay, so what's the next scene? And we would talk about it. They would go write it, and then we get it boarded. I have to, I'm grateful the studio trusted that we would have a movie at the end. I have to say for Patrick, he and the other actors only got, like you said, 4 pages. I don't know that if you ever asked or if I could explain what was going to happen in this movie, but just your willingness to go along and just go with it is so appreciated, because that just made it so much fun. We weren't worried, so we didn't worry, and I don't know. I just felt like I always say this movie was like we were at the kids' table at Thanksgiving dinner, and we just got to laugh and have fun as long as we didn't break any dishes.
That sounds about right. And it couldn't happen to a nicer guy to join us in this ride. So thank you, Patrick, for saying yes to our wackiness. It's wonderful to have you be part of such a vital part.
Woo! Nice work, pal!
It's an honor, this day to be a part of it. David would have been here, I guess, but they're having like a 13th anniversary of, one of his movies. I think he's having dinner with Rob Schneider or something. Grown up on the street. He would have been here. Where is Davey? I called him.
That was in the basement.
But I mean, it's nice that is that where you met David Tweed?
That is right, yeah. No, we used to do it
Then you
together
went
for
on
7
to
years.
Rules of engagement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo!
I love Davey, but he's a little bit of a princess. Where is he? Let's go right now.
All right, let's not badmouth anymore. Let's switch into music, because
All right, this is where I shine.
no. Enough, Dave. We do have some other people speak about that. So obviously music's a very important part of the film experience, and we did have Sting hang in there with us till the bitter end with 2 songs appearing on the final soundtrack. But one of them was sung by Tom Jones. Mark, do you want to talk about how Tom came into the mix?
I actually don't remember.
Chris Montan.
I have no idea.
No.
So it must have been
John knows John's story, which was very short and sweet.
Yeah, maybe it was Chris Montan. All I remember is when I was 7 years old, Tom Jones was on television, my little black and white television back in the day. And he would come on, and I was a 7-year-old kid, and I thought, I love this guy. I don't know why. He just was he had so much energy, and so when it got suggested, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I want Tom Jones to sing the song.
Yes.
But I can't actually remember whose idea it was.
I'm pretty sure it's Chris Montan's in it, but I will say, like the guys went to, I think Sting and Dave Hartley went to Las Vegas to meet with him, to bring him into the show. I mean, it was definitely big from the beginning that he was brought in, so it was great. But I think one of you guys mentioned this earlier, we only had 18 months to make this film, which was unheard of back in the ancient 2D days. Really amazing. But you know what else was impressive? Even more impressive was that John Debney got to jump in and craft an entire score in how long, John?
About 2 weeks. Let's make that
Wow!
I mean, where do you even begin on a task like that?
Sometimes it's a casting thing, and I came in at a very interesting time, right, Mark, where they had changed directions, and that was a different movie. And so I think they brought me in because I'm kind of known as a fun guy, I guess, or I don't know what, or very hyper.
Well, it's funny because you say fun, but like you've done The Passion of the Christ. And like that's very different than The Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah, I
very
think that's
different.
very good.
But
No, it was a joy. I remember getting a call one day, Trey, thanks for mentioning it. It was a little bit of a blur because it was 2 weeks. But agent calls and said, look, they've made a change in direction, and they'd love for you to come in and meet with Mark and Randy and, see if you guys hit it off. And I think they kind of said, we're desperate. Would you come in?
Please.
And so it was one of the greatest joys of my life. I got a call, and I remember being in the car, and my agent said, "Did your agent say this?" He said, "This is a call that's going to change your life." But he was right, because it was my opportunity to work on something so special with guys that now were brothers, and I fell in love with them, fell in love with the characters, my God. I remember watching this for the first time, some kind of rough cut, and it just being floored by your performance and Bertha's performance, and then there's Sting writing this beautiful song. So I was sort of the guy that came in and just sort of wanted me to stitch it all together, quote some of those great song melodies, and write some of the melodies of my own, and that's what we did. I don't know how we did it, but we did.
I don't know how you all did it either, but you did, and it's amazing, and that's why we're here 25 years later.
Woo!
So, it's probably just about time to officially dim the lights and actually start rolling this film, but I do have a few parting thoughts that I want to share. First of all, I want you to consider
Yeah!
next week to enjoy Patrick in his latest role. Patrick will be Mayor Winddancer's Utopia 2, which opens next Wednesday, am I right?
Yeah!
Just a little independent movie coming out. A little indie, we gotta support that.
There you go, a little movie you might have heard of, so that's coming soon. In further appreciation of the Emperor's New Groove's 25th anniversary, you can enjoy it again and again on digital and Blu-rays as of December 9th.
Woo!
What's even more awesome is the studio's film preservation team spent months restoring and remastering the film, which is a version that you are going to see tonight for the first time ever.
Yeah!
Super exciting. So with that, I would like to thank our panelists for their time and energy tonight and 25 years ago.
Woo! Yeah!
I want to thank our audience for your love tonight and over the course of this last quarter of century. And with that, I think we're going to take ourselves off the stage and reset so you can enjoy The Emperor's New Groove.
Awesome!
My favorite part was